Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia and thank you so much for being here. In today's reading vlog, we are reading a literary fiction. This is called The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. Britt is a BIPOC author and she published this book in June of 2020. So it has been out for a couple of years. It has over 874,000 reviews between Amazon and Goodreads, and it has between a 4.1 and a 4.4 star rating. So seems very promising. I feel like I'm gonna like this book. I know I've waited so long to read it. Happy April 2024, by the way. This book is 366 pages, and I want to see how I'm going to feel about this book. It's about two twin girls, Stella and Desiree. They grow up in a small Southern Black community in Louisiana, and I'm not sure when this happens. I don't know if it happens before they're 16 or when they're 16, but they watch their father get dragged off of their porch by a group of white men and get lynched. It's hard to read things like that, which is why it's taken me so long to pick this book up. Well, at some point, the girls run away. They run away when they're 16, but I don't know when that happens to their dad. I don't know if it happens and it makes them run away or if this was already in the works, but they are two black twins, two identical black twins. They run away and then they lead separate lives. And I guess we're following the 14 years of their lives that they're separated. And then the girls come back together, I guess, when they're about 30 years old. But during those 14 years, one girl runs away, meets a guy, has a daughter. She's living as a black woman with her black daughter. 14 years go by. She moves back to that town in Louisiana to take care of her dying mother. The other twin is living as a white woman. She's white passing, married to her white husband. They have a white daughter, very white daughter, blonde hair, blue eyes. The husband and daughter know nothing of her past. Well, at some point, the two daughters, the cousins, they meet. Their lives start to intertwine and intersect. It's a book about racial identity. Gender identity was part of the synopsis on Amazon, and it's just a look at socioeconomic conditions depending on your background and where you're from. This is going to be a little bit of a historical fiction as well, which is what I read online. I still want to classify it as a literary fiction, but right now part one is called The Lost Twins 1968. I had read on some of the Amazon reviews that this small town in Louisiana, it's a black community, but they pride themselves on having really light skin. And that's not what I'm reading right now. That's what I read on Amazon. That was part of one of the reviews. And so I said that this book is starting in 1968. It is, but it looks like the 14 years have gone by. So it's 1968. One of the twins that had run away is back. She's walking back into town and she is spotted holding a leather suitcase, and she's holding the hand of a little girl that appears to be 7 or 8. But this man, Lou, is describing one of the lost twins as having skin the color of barely wet sand. But the girl whose hand she is holding, she had the skin that was black as tar. The color was black as tar. And then he said blue black, like she'd flown direct from Africa. I'm a white woman, obviously, if y'all didn't notice that. I'm an American, I'm from Texas. I live in Japan right now, but I originated from Texas. I'm 37 years old, and that's where I lived my whole life up until we moved here 6 months ago. I don't know what all I'm going to be able to describe for y'all without seeming insensitive, and that's not what I want to do. I don't want to seem insensitive at all. With these reading vlogs, if you have watched my other vlogs, I like to give pretty much descriptive details of exactly what's happening in the book, and I can normally tell you exactly what's happening up until about the 50% mark, and then, well, at least with my thrillers, because then there's twists and turns and I can't tell you much. I don't know what's going to happen in this literary fiction, but I plan on being very descriptive with what I'm reading as part of the reading vlog, but I don't want it to come off as insensitive. This is just the words on paper that I'm reading, they're not coming from my mouth. Please don't think that. I don't know. I'm so curious to see how this vlog is gonna go and if I even post it, because I don't want to sound insensitive. I don't want to sound insensitive at all with anything that I tell you in regards to the book. Okay, I am so glad I read a couple of those Amazon reviews that talked about this one particular community where the twins came from and how they pride themselves on being very light-skinned for being Black people. I'm so glad I read that, because I would just be more than confused right now, and I'm only a few pages in, but that guy Lou is just up in arms. So the twins, it says it in here that the twins have been missing for 14 years, and not technically, as missing persons. They ran away, and then I guess about a year after they ran away, they were spotted in New Orleans, in another area of Louisiana. So everyone knows that they're fine, that they ran away from responsibility is how they worded it. But now they think that the twin that has returned, they think it's Desiree. And they just keep saying, who on earth is the dark child? Could that child possibly be Desiree's? And then someone is saying, maybe it's an orphan that she took in. And then someone else just says, I don't know how any child that Black could come out of Desiree. This is just, and then it tells you about how they were spotted in New Orleans, and now, it's been a total of 14 years since they've come home. And it says that they know that Stella became white and Desiree married the darkest man she could find. And then they're still talking about seeing her walking through town and saying that maybe she's just here to flaunt that dark daughter of hers. In Mallard, nobody married dark. And then it says marrying a dark man and dragging his blue-black child all over town was just a step too far. These conversations are a step too far. Oh my God. I'm trying to figure out how to explain this town. The paragraph starts off with, it was a strange town. So there was a man who, it's implied, it does not say it, but I think this man was fathered by a white man and his mom was a Black woman. Might not have been the most consensual of relationships, if you catch my drift there. It's all implied. And it says that he was freed after his dad died. So imply what you would like there. I don't want to go any further. You can figure that out. So this son, he grew up and he's very light skinned, and his mom hated it because his mom's a Black woman and she hated his light skin, and she would throw him in the sun and just beg for his skin to darken. But he himself, as he grew up, loved his lightness. He said that his lightness was a gift. And so he wanted to keep that going. So he married a woman even lighter than himself. He knew that his kids would be even more light-skinned than him. And then it said that his hope was that his children's children's children would be lighter, like a cup of coffee that was steadily diluted with cream. Each generation lighter than the one before. Well, this guy, he's no longer alive, but the twins are the great grandchildren of him. So 3 greats. So they're related to this man. And so there's a Founders Day picnic every year, and one of the twins, Stella can't stand it. She can't stand the community. She can't stand what it stands for. She's not into it. How did it word it? She never wanted to be a part of this town. So Stella did not want to embrace this idolization that everyone else wanted to embrace. And then if you want to get a little bit more context on what Stella and Desiree look like, because right now all we knew was that their skin was no darker than the color of wet sand. It says twin girls, creamy skin, hazel eyes, wavy hair. I mean, they sound beautiful. These girls sound beautiful. But again, am I saying this correctly? I was about to ask, am I being proper? I'm reading from the book what the book is saying. I don't want to come off as rude to anybody. This is just supposed to be a fun reading vlog. I'm reading a literary fiction. The town, I guess, Mallard, it's a really small town, so there's only so much you can do once you grow up And so it's Desiree that has always wanted to leave the town because she wants to go off and be an actress. And then she heard about a city called New Orleans, and that's 2 hours away. Someone else ran away to New Orleans, and I guess that girl is just living it up. And that girl is only 1 year older, so I guess that girl was 17 when she disappeared. So Desiree just really wants to leave the town because she wants to pursue her dreams. And then it also said that she's sick of everyone's obsession with lightness and light skin in that town. Desiree is thinking about her time when she was still in that city and just, again, hated everyone's obsession with lightness. She said that at one point there were two husbands in the barbershop having an argument over whose wife was more fairer skinned. And then she said that people in that town believed ridiculous things like drinking coffee or eating chocolate while you were pregnant would cause your baby to be born darker skinned. The girls left Mallard when they were 16 because at the end of, I guess it was their sophomore school year, their mom came home from work and said that the girls would not be returning to school in August. They still had 2 more years of high school, but she was unenrolling them and they were going to start working. They were going to start cleaning houses because they needed to bring home an income because the bills were stacking up and the mom couldn't afford to do this without the girls working. And the girls were just trying to figure out, no, there's got to be a way. We can go to school and we can work at night. And the mom just said, no, they need you there during the day. It's this really rich white couple. They're like an hour or so away. It's far away. The girls would have to take the bus there to clean their house. And it sounds like they're cleaning their house every day. But yeah, the new school year started and the girls were just thinking about, oh, all of our friends are in the lunchroom right now. So the girls decided we need to get out of here. One of them wants to be an actress. Stella wants to be a teacher, but in order to do that, she was going to need her high school diploma and then need to get her college degree. So they just packed up after the Founders Day picnic and said, bye. Desiree was married to a man named Sam. It sounds like they might still be married, but she's running away from him. Married to a man named Sam. They have a daughter named Jude. So that's who she's with right now. And I guess an altercation happened. Sam hit her. It sounds like they were in Washington, D.C. And so as Desiree was making plans to run away from her husband with their daughter, she started thinking about Stella. And then in her internal dialogue, she thought, I haven't talked to Stella since she passed over. So I guess Stella let Desiree know, hey, I'm going to go out in the world and be white. And then I don't know if Desiree stopped talking to her because of that, or if Stella chose to stop talking to her sister because her sister married Sam, who was a dark-skinned man, and they had a dark-skinned daughter. Wow. We've met 2 more characters. We've met a bail bondsman named Seal and a bounty hunter named Early. So Sam, the husband to Desiree, Sam has hired them to find Desiree and Jude. And it seems as if when Seal handed the photo over to Early, for Early to see who Desiree and Jude are, what they look like, Early seems to recognize Desiree. I was told that there would be a love story in here. So is the love story between Desiree and Early? Hey guys. Okay, so it has been 4 days since I last checked in. Also 4 days since I picked up the book, as you can see. I went out of town. My husband and I went out of town with our neighbors because one of their daughters was having a birthday. So we went to Universal Studios in Japan and we went to Harry Potter World. So you can see my Ravenclaw scarf here. But I'm reading a tiny bit more. I've only read a couple of pages right now before I started checking in. And I think I was wrong when I first told y'all the twins run away from home. And then we're following the 14 years that they're gone. And then one of them comes back home to take care of her mother. So at the moment, mom is not sick and Stella is home with her daughter Jude. But I think also where I was incorrect was they were gone for 14 years, and I'm sure we'll get flashbacks of that, but I think we're following the next 14 years of their story. Because in some of the reviews, Jude, who is she's 7 or 8 years old right now, we're going to watch her get into a relationship. So I think we're going 14 years now. Now that one of the girls is back in her hometown, now we're going to follow the next 14 years of her life. I just wanted to throw that out there. But so far, all I've read since I last checked in with y'all was that Stella's home with her daughter Jude, staying at her mom's house, and then the mom says, this is the next morning, they're outside on the front porch, and the mom says, we need to enroll Jude in school. We need to enroll her in the elementary school here in this town. And Stella just says, Mom, we're not staying. We don't need to enroll her here. And her mom just says she needs to continue with her studies, and also, where are you going? And how are you getting there? You don't have any money and you don't have a car. I had to switch locations because my little ginger cat is being very needy and won't stop meowing from the bedroom. It is Jude's first day of school, and it's saying that the beige children were pressed up against the fence gawking at Jude, and Jude just kept saying, what are they staring at, Mom? What is it? And Stella had dressed Jude up in a pink and white dress, even though Stella's mom said, are you sure you don't want to put her in something darker, like a brown color or an olive green color? And Stella just said, no, I want her to wear bright colors. But according to this town, bright colors looked vulgar against dark skin. And now Stella is feeling foolish for putting Jude in these bright colors, this pink and white dress, because now all the beige children are staring at Jude, and she's thinking, maybe I ruined my daughter's chances of fitting in. And then Jude just keeps asking, how long do I have to go here? How long am I going to be at this school? And Stella just keeps saying, I don't know. Early and Desiree's meet cute when they were in high school is so cute. I'm not even sure if he actually went to her high school, but that's when they met, when they were teenagers, and it's so precious. And he used to bring different fruit to her door because he hauled fruit. Oh my gosh, reading about that was so cute. But then her mom said something to him, and he disappeared, and she never saw him again because Early has darker skin, and the mama wanted Desiree and Stella to be with somebody with lighter skin. So Desiree and Early have not seen each other in years. I mean, I guess it's been about 14 years, and now they've just run into each other at the bar. And remember, we as the reader know that Early is there because he was hired to find her and bring her home. Desiree has no idea about that, so she walks up to him and says, wow, long time no see. So they start talking, start flirting. She keeps trying to ask him, what do you do? What do you do for a living? What are you doing back in Mallard? What's going on? And he is being so vague with her, and finally he just says, I hunt. And she says, hunt what? And he won't say anything, and then he goes to pull the scarf off of her neck and sees all the bruises that Sam left on her. And he doesn't say anything, but Desiree just gets really frustrated at that he saw that. So she puts her scarf back on real quick and just runs out of the bar. So, wow, that was their second meet cute, and it was not cute. Okay, I just ate some lunch. Now, I'm trying to give y'all an update. Okay, so Early is still at the bar. So Desiree shoved him after he was flirting with her and then just started to undo her scarf. It was very random why that happened, how that happened. And then, he sees the bruises, so she just shoves him and runs out of the bar. Well, he runs into a guy, because he's falling backwards. That guy spills his drink. It's fine. No one's fighting or anything. Everyone knows who Early is, and everyone knows who Desiree is. I do not like small towns for this reason. Everyone knows everyone's business. And even though the twins have been gone for 14 years, now that Desiree's back, it doesn't matter. Everyone still knows everything about these girls. And one of the guys in the bar even says, her sister ran off thinking that she's white now, just out there living real fine like a white lady. So they know about Stella. And then with Desiree was very, I don't want to say ornery, but when Desiree was younger, her mom just kept trying to pin her or put her with all the beige looking men, all the light skinned men. And Desiree just seemed to want to clap back at that and was only interested in darker skinned men, which would, be why she initially caught the eye of Early, because Early has dark skin. Well, now the patrons and the bar, they're also, they're talking about Stella. Well, then with Desiree, they're saying, and then Desiree's got that child of hers. And Early just says, what's wrong with the child? What's wrong with Jude? And they said, she's just as black as can be. Desiree went out and married the darkest boy that she could find. And she thinks no one around here knows that we know he's putting his hands on her. How do they know these things? How do you know she went and married someone? How do you know that he's putting his hands on her? How do y'all know about Stella now passing for white? How do they know this? That's why I don't like small towns. They make me uncomfortable. Everyone knows everyone's business. And even if you try to get away from the town, it doesn't matter. They still know what you're doing. Okay, I have to leave. I have to get to a dentist appointment. If y'all watched one of my other vlogs, I had 2 dentist appointments during that one vlog. Now I'm going in for my 3rd one, and it's so hard to have nice teeth, and I'm trying to keep my teeth. I don't want to get a fake tooth, but I have one tooth that's it's acting up, so I have to go in for another exam. I might have to have a root canal, but whatever, y'all don't care. So Early is reminiscing on him and Desiree when they were 17 years old and just being so cute and flirty. And now in present day, he has paid a little kid to point out where the mom lives, where the twins' mom lives. And so now he's in the woods and he's staring at the house, and Desiree's there. She's on the front porch and he's taking photos, and he's supposed to be sending these photos to Sam, but he gets a phone call from Sam later that evening and just says, what's the news? Have you found her? And Early just says, I'm gonna need a little bit more time. Is this the beginning of Desiree and Early's second chance romance? Anyways, I have to go to my dentist appointment, but I will possibly update y'all when I get back. If not, it'll be tomorrow. All right, bye. Hello, it is 2 days later. Also, this book is giving me whiplash. I know I keep talking about the 14 years. Oh, they leave when they're 16. We're following the 14 years until they come home, when they're 30. And then I said, oh, well, they're 30 now. Now we're following the next 14 years because even the little girl is going to grow up and she's going to get her relationship. Well, I mean, honestly, I think we're following 28 years. I think we're following the before and the after. And this book is giving me whiplash. It just keeps going back and forth, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. It happens in the chapters. It happens at the start of a new chapter. I mean, one chapter, I was in it, and she's been there a month. Desiree and Jude have been back in Mallard, Louisiana, living with Desiree's mom for 1 month, and she just can't believe that it's been a month. She was a fingerprint analyst, I think, back in DC. So she's trying to get a job at the police department. They won't hire her because she's technically black with her light skin. It's so awful. And I forgot this book is set in the 60s. It's terrible. They won't hire her. So the only one person that hires her is Lou. So she's working at his little egg diner. And her daughter's still, enrolled at that elementary school where the kids stare at her because her skin is darker. And then all of a sudden there's some space, and then we cut into a flashback, and it's when they first got to New Orleans. I guess they were there for about a year before they branched out, because Desiree has not talked to Stella in 13 years, but they were gone for a total of 14. And Desiree feels like it's her fault because Stella got an opportunity to, I guess, get hired at this firm, but the only way they would hire her is if she was white. They assumed she was white, and so Stella played along with it because Desiree told her to. Desiree said, just do it. Just for the job, for the money, do it. Well, then Desiree comes home one day, and Stella had left her a note that said, hey, honey, sorry, but I gotta find my own way. And then Stella just disappeared for the next 13 years. Desiree has no idea where she is. Then we cut back into present day in Mallard. And this is all in the same chapter. And it just, it's going back and forth. And Desiree's on the phone with Early. They talk every day. Early's doing a hunting job. He's looking for a criminal. He's doing a hunting job in Texas. But he calls Desiree every night around closing time at the diner. I'm not for the infidelity, but also I hate her husband. I hate Sam. And then we cut to the next chapter, and it was back to Stella and Desiree living in New Orleans. For that first year, they worked at Dixie Laundry, so they was working at a laundromat. And this book, it goes back and forth, and it's giving me whiplash. Okay, Early is finishing up that hunting job for the criminal he's seeking out in Texas, and he is headed back to Louisiana, and he has offered to Desiree to help her find Stella. Okay, we have just finished the first part. So it was titled Part 1, The Lost Twins, 1968. So at the very end of that, Early and Desiree are driving around, going back to every place they could think of where Stella might be or where she could have been at one point in time. And then finally they go to, I think it's called Mason Blanche, and that's where Stella had got that job where she was a secretary. And so Desiree walks in and she's just pretending that she's looking for an old friend that she hasn't talked to in a while. And so the current secretary there starts going through a filing cabinet, and she finds a file on Stella, and she says, "I'm so sorry, but the last address that we have for her was in Boston, Massachusetts, but the last couple of years of Christmas cards that we've sent out have been returned to us, so I don't believe that she's there anymore." And Desiree she can't believe that there's an address, and she can't believe that it's Boston, Massachusetts, and she's thinking, where could Stella have gone in Boston? Like, why Massachusetts? And then at one point, Desiree was on the phone with the girl that I told you about in the beginning that also ran away from Mallard, and she was only 1 year older than the twins. They had met up with that girl in New Orleans, and they lived with her for a hot minute before they, got on their feet and got situated. And Desiree had called her name's Farah. Desiree called her and asked, have you seen Stella? When was the last time you saw her? She hasn't seen Stella in close to 13 years, but she said that the last time she saw Stella, she was walking hand in hand with a white man, and she was just mooning over him. So now Desiree's thinking, oh my gosh, Stella could be in Boston, and she could be married to this white man. Part 2 is starting, and it's titled Part 2, Maps, 1978. I have read about... She always gets so scared when I update. I've read about 30 more pages since I last checked in with y'all. So it's been 10 years, and it seems as if Stella still has not been found. Early found her old apartment in Boston, Massachusetts. He talked to the landlord, but then he didn't get any sort of forwarding address, any other news about where she's possibly working. It's been 10 years, and he has not found her. Jude has grown up. She's 18 now, and she's a track star. She wanted to get as far away from Louisiana as she could, so she accepted a scholarship out at UCLA in Los Angeles, California. So she took the Greyhound there, and she has met someone named Reese. Reese is, okay, I don't know if I'm saying this wrong. Reese is a trans man. Is that correct? Reese used to be a woman named Therese Ann Carter, and then Therese became Reese, so now Reese is a trans man. I think that's how you say it. But they're not in a relationship, but they're together all the time. Desiree is still a waitress at Lou's Egg Diner. Early is still hunting. He's still a bounty hunter, but he's getting really tired of it. Desiree is still living with her mom, and her mom is still against this relationship with Early. And Early he's thought about this so many times, about bringing a ring home to Desiree and proposing to her, but Desiree has made it so clear that she never wants to get married again. But Early has thought about bringing in a ring home and getting Desiree's mom to like him more. He thinks that she would respect him more if he put a ring on her daughter's finger, but Desiree's just made it so clear that she never wants to get married again. But still nothing about Stella, and we're on page 117. Jude has moved into Reese's apartment. This book is all over the place. It's like I said earlier, it's giving me whiplash. I understand not going in chronological order, but I mean, sometimes you jump into a paragraph, you don't know whose points of view you're going to be in, you don't know what year we're in, you just have to read and figure it out, and it's a lot. I just read quite a bit about Reese's background and how he came from Arkansas and then kind of escaped his family and came to California, and then he met this guy Barry who's a teacher, and Barry, what's the word, is a drag. Barry is a drag queen on the weekends. During the week, Barry is a male professor, and on the weekends, he dresses up as a woman and performs on stage, and I love it. I love reading about Barry. Jude is a cater waiter. She does catering. Well, she got a last minute gig at some party. Someone got a promotion, and she's just there. She's bartending and serving food, and at the moment she's behind the bar, and a girl walks up and says, "Yeah, I'd like another dirty martini." And Jude says, "I am not allowed to serve anyone that is under the age of 21. And this girl is clearly about 18 years old. And the girl says, "Well, fine, I'm 21. This party's a drag anyways. Please make me another drink." So Jude just doesn't want to get into it with her and makes her a drink. And y'all, I think this girl, I think that's Kennedy. I think that's Stella's daughter. I think Jude and Kennedy just met. Well, then someone appears at the front door, and the guy who the party is for goes up to the front door, and he's removing the fur coat from this woman. And then the woman turns around, and I guess Jude sees her and realizes it's her Aunt Stella. Again, this is all just me assuming this, but Jude just sees this woman when she turns around, and Jude drops the wine bottle that she was holding, and then that part ends. So now, remember, we were in, part 1 was in 1968, The Lost Twins. Part 2 was in 1978, Maps. Now we're in part 3, and we're back to 1968. It just got even better, and now we're going back in time again. So now part 3, 1968, Heartlines. Heartlines, so maybe now we're going to read about Stella, because so far, 149 pages in, we haven't really read anything about Stella. So maybe now we'll get her backstory on where she's been for the last 14 plus years. Okay, I'm sorry if you can hear the dishwasher. I just finished having lunch, and now I'm just standing here at my counter drinking my green tea. Y'all, Stella is not a kind person. I do not like her. Oh my goodness, especially since she passed over to being white. So she married a white man named Blake, and now they're at this HOA meeting because in their neighborhood, one of the houses is for sale, and I guess a black man has put a bid down to buy this house, and now everyone is up in arms at this HOA meeting. I was in leasing for 3 years, and due to the Fair Housing Act of 1968, it is illegal to discriminate against anyone based on, there were 7 things. I don't even know if I remember them all. Race, color, national origin, sex, familial status, I don't know, all the things. But no one should know that a black-skinned person has put down an offer on this house. But regardless, it is the year 1968. This law was passed in 1968. Maybe it's before the law passed, but the HOA, they know about it. And so everyone's up in arms, the whole neighborhood. And Stella stands up and speaks out against this, saying, enough is enough. I want to be safe in my neighborhood. You need to do something about this. That person, talking to the president of the HOA, that person or that family cannot move here. And then at the end of the HOA meeting, Blake, Stella's husband, he's like, oh, I didn't know I married such a rabble-rouser, which, what a word. In all the time that he'd known her, she'd never spoken kindly of a Negro. It embarrassed him a little, to tell the truth. He respected the natural order of things, but you didn't have to be cruel about it. And even as a boy, he had a colored nanny named Wilma, who was practically family, and he still sent Christmas cards to. But Stella wouldn't even hire colored help for the house. She claimed Mexicans worked harder. Oh my gosh. Stella is afraid of getting caught because her mom always told her colored people recognize colored people, and it does not matter how light your skin is. So Stella is terrified of this black family moving in literally across the street from their house because she's afraid they're going to recognize her for what she is, for being a Black woman. And she just does not want that because her husband doesn't know about her past. Her daughter doesn't know about her past. She told her husband that her mom and dad died in a car accident and that she was an orphan. I am over halfway through the book. I'm on page 203, and I believe there's 366 pages. So we're still reading about Stella. I'm still not a fan of her. She lies to her husband a lot, and I don't like that. So that family did move in across the street, and Stella is pretty much best friends now with the wife, and the whole neighborhood just seems so riled by it. Everyone's always staring out their blinds and watching Stella and Kennedy cross the street and go see Loretta and Loretta's little girl Cindy, and I don't remember Loretta's husband's name. He's never there anyways. He's at work all the time. But this white passing woman is best friends with this Black woman. And I mean, no one knows that she's white passing, but everyone just thinks this white woman has befriended her Black neighbor, and they just can't believe it. And they can't believe that she brings Kennedy over. How could she bring her daughter into this? These people are awful. Well, Stella is BFFs with Loretta now, but every time Stella gets home later than her husband Blake, she will lie to Blake and just name a different neighbor's house and say, oh, I was at that house, or oh, I was at that house. And I don't know, I guess Blake hasn't figured it out yet that she's lying. Okay, I guess I spoke too soon, and it did get back to Blake that Stella has been hanging out with her darker skinned neighbor across the street. And he just keeps asking her what's going on. Why are you lying to me? What's the deal? And then some things happen, and then Stella just decides not to be friends with Loretta anymore. And I don't even know what all I can tell. Are there spoilers? I don't think anything that I've told you is a spoiler, although I want to keep some things from y'all. Y'all should read it. This is still a really good book, but I don't like Stella. I'm not a fan of her. And then something else just happened. So Reggie is the neighbor, is Loretta's husband. She's only run into Reggie 3 times total, I think, in the last year. And the third time that she ran into him, he happened to be in his yard, and she had just come home and she was unloading the trunk. It was full of groceries, and he came over and he said, here, I can help you. And so he grabbed a lot of her groceries and walked them into her house and then set them on the kitchen counter and said, there you go, bye. And he left. Well, later that day or that week, Stella was sitting with 2 of the other white neighbors, and they were talking about the colored people that live in their neighborhood. Oh, it's so terrible. This one family. And Stella just mentions that Reggie makes her uncomfortable. That's all she says. He makes me uncomfortable, which is awful. Why? Why are you saying that? He never made you uncomfortable. He helped you unload your groceries, and you were fine with it. But she's telling these 2 white ladies, he makes me uncomfortable. Well, sure enough, someone threw a brick through their window, Loretta and Reggie's window. It makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. I can't stand Stella. I don't like her. We've reached part 4. Part 4, The Stage Door, 1982. We've made it to the 80s. We are now back in Jude's perspective, and she's graduated college. She's still with Reese, and she wants to go to medical school. So she's applied to 7 different places. So she's waiting to hear back, and she's so worried she's not going to get accepted because of the color of her skin. And in the meantime, she has applied to be a waitress at a restaurant, and she's so worried that she's going to become just like her mother, because Desiree is still waiting tables at the diner. She has been waiting tables for so long. Oh my goodness. And Jude just doesn't want that to happen to her. Well, now Jude and Reese, they go out one night because their friends are performing, they do drag, and she's looking on the stage and she sees a girl that looks familiar. And it's the girl from the party. Oh yeah, and I didn't tell y'all. She was a cater waiter at that party. She was bartending, and she thought she saw her Aunt Stella, and so she dropped that wine bottle. Well, she ruined the rug, and I don't know, she got fired. Long story short, she got fired, so she ran out of there. So she never really found out if that was her Aunt Stella, and she never really found out if the girl that was underage drinking was her cousin. Well, now in present day, you know, she's graduated college and she's on that date with Reese, and the girl on the stage looks just like the girl from that party. So now, because I mean, we're getting near the end of the book, and I thought the whole premise was generational racism and the two cousins meeting, and then everyone's worlds colliding, with one mom continuing to be a black woman and then the aunt pretending to be a white woman. But I don't know, we are on page 227 and the girls still haven't actually talked. Okay, so they met officially, Jude and Kennedy. Jude knows who Kennedy is, but Kennedy doesn't know who Jude is. And Jude is just asking Kennedy all sorts of questions about her family. You know, oh, did they come to see you act? Did they come to see you perform? Just trying to pry and get more information. And Kennedy finally just starts talking about her family, and she even says her mom's last name. And so that's when you know, okay, yeah, she's officially a Vignes, or however you say that last name. That's her mother's maiden name, Stella's name. Then it cuts to Stella. So Stella, remember, they had to drop out of high school. Their mom didn't re-enroll them for the next year, for their junior year of high school. So they only finished up until the 10th grade. So Stella had talked to her husband and said, you know, I really want to go back and get my GED. And he said, oh yeah, that's great. You should do that. So she got her GED. And then she said, oh, I really want to get my associate's degree. And he thought, okay, you don't want to do anything else with your time. He's just so anti-education for women. And she just says, no, I want my associate's degree. Well, then she gets that. And then she wants her bachelor's degree. And he just says, again, more school. And now she's an adjunct professor. She teaches a statistics class because she's really good at math. And now she really wants to get her master's degree. And Blake is just, he's so anti that. And so right now, Stella's having a conversation with another one of the math professors at the college. And she's just saying that Blake is afraid for Stella to have power and for her to have a big brain. And so that's where we're at right now. Stella's trying to figure out the next step in her life, while Kennedy has dropped out of college because she wants to pursue acting. And then Jude is still waiting to see if she's going to get into medical school. She's, you know, working at a restaurant right now as a waitress and kind of stalking Kennedy to find out more about her. Okay. Jude is such a stalker. Now she's an usher at the Stardust Theater where Kennedy performs. All right, there were some confrontations with some characters. I don't want to tell y'all everything because I want y'all to read it. It was really good, also really sad. And now we're on part 5, Pacific Cove. And I guess Pacific Cove is taking place in 2 different years. It says 1985/1988. So we'll see. But in part 4, when we were in Stella's point of view, it was really sad because she was saying, I'm 44 years old and I haven't been with my sister at this point for more years than I was with my sister, because she hasn't seen her sister since she was 16. Well, I guess they were in New Orleans for that first year before Stella disappeared. So maybe since she was 17, and she's 44 now. So it's just really sad. But now we're in part 5. So let's see what happens. Maybe we can wrap all of this up and get everyone together, because right now everyone is still separated. We have people living in Mallard, Louisiana, and people living in Los Angeles, California. My husband and I are leaving soon to go to our first baseball game in Japan. I'm super excited. I didn't know baseball is the #1 sport here. I thought it was sumo wrestling. That's actually #2. Baseball's #1. But I'm so close to being done. We are now at the point where Kennedy is nearing 30 years old, and she's moved to New York, and she's dating a black man. This book is getting sad, y'all. Stella hasn't seen her mother since she left when she was 16 years old. And if I'm doing the math correctly, because I don't want to go back to the beginning and figure it out, the book started at 1968, but that was after the girls had been gone for 14 years. So I think the girls left in 1954. So the mom hasn't seen Stella since 1954, and right now it's 1985. So it's been 31 years, if I'm doing all of this correctly. And she's getting older, and she's still asking about Stella from time to time, how she's doing, what she's doing, where she is. That's so sad. How do you just... Her mom did nothing wrong. I understand running away from home if you had a horrible childhood, if your life was terrible, if your parents were awful, but her mom did nothing wrong, and she just erased her whole life to become a white woman, and it's breaking my heart. Hey, hello. The weekend is now over. Today is Monday, and I actually finished the book over the weekend. There was a 6th part. It was called Places, and it took place in 1986, which again, none of these years matter because the book just flip-flops everywhere. That was the only thing I didn't like about this book, is it did not matter what year you were in or what part you were in. It still jumped back and forth to every time in their lives throughout all of these decades. I did give the book 4 stars. I still really enjoyed it. I still think y'all should pick it up. I know a lot of people say that the ending fell flat. I liked the ending. I mean, this is a literary fiction. It's just a slice of life, day to day, or more slice of life for decades, day to day. But the book, I know people say it just ends. Well, yeah, because that's real life. It just ends, and it's up to you to figure out what's gonna happen next. The book ended the way that it needed to end. I truly enjoyed it, and I liked seeing where everyone was at during that time. And I would recommend this. This is definitely a 4-star book. This book was insightful, it was touching, it was raw, it was real. Please read this book. Thank y'all so much for coming along on this journey with me, and I will see y'all in the next reading vlog. Bye.